Greetings, fellow travellers. Tonight we step not into Rome's shining plazas, but under them, into the hidden veins of stone, where fire is tamed and smoke is meant to vanish. Above, marble floors glow warm beneath noble feet. The baths echo with laughter, perfume, and politics. But down here, in the belly of the furnace, the sound is older, rougher. It is the sound of a city breathing through soot. And tonight, that breath depends on you. But before we descend even further, settle yourself. Let the room around you fade. Breathe shallowly, imagine rationing the air, as if each lungful were precious coin. Feel the walls tighten in around you, the heat thick as wool pressing against your skin. Picture the lamp in your hand, its flame trembling, the vinegar-soaked rag clamped across your mouth. You are not here to soak in marble pools or glide through clouds of steam. You are here to crawl where fire has its say, to keep the draft alive, so that Rome's great lie of effortless luxury holds a little longer. And while we walk this path together, if these hidden labours of history call to you, a small act, a like, a subscribe, a word shared lets these forgotten voices climb out from under the stones. Tell me, too, where you listen from, so across centuries we may know this silence has company. And so you slip beneath the marble, into Rome's hidden lungs. The tunnel ahead is narrow as a grave. You slide forward on your belly, elbows grinding against grit, tunic rasping on rough tile. The air licks your throat with ash. It tastes of hot metal and damp earth. Sweat beads instantly, dripping into your eyes, stinging with salt. Each breath through the rag feels stolen, like convincing a reluctant debtor to part with coin. The walls press close, radiating heat that seeps into your ribs and knees until you cannot tell where body ends and brick begins. Your lamp throws nervous shadows, revealing streaks of black soot that glitter faintly, like stars in reverse. Above, faintly, you hear the muffled slap of feet, laughter bubbling in ignorance. The bathers trust this place to work without question. They will never know the smoke wants to claw back, to rise where it does not belong. That is your work. To scrape the flues, to keep the breath moving, to stop Rome's luxury from collapsing into fire and coughs. Without you, there is no warmth, only ruin. Then comes the shift. A sound unlike the rest, a hollow pop, sharp and mean, echoing down the flue. Dust falls in dark flakes onto your cheek. The furnace growls deeper, as if a beast behind the wall had woken, impatient and hungry, and the crawl has only begun. Above your head, the city performs its rituals of grandeur. Steam curls into mosaicked ceilings, voices bounce in pleasant echoes, and wealthy Romans lean back against heated walls, as though comfort were their inheritance. But to understand the crawl you've just begun, we must pull back past the grit in your teeth, and the furnace roar to see where this hidden labour fits into Rome's design. This is Ostia, Rome's bustling port, where ships bring amphorae of wine, sacks of grain, and marble meant to remind visitors of the capital itself. It is the 2nd century, the empire wide and confident, its citizens certain the gods smile on their baths, as much as their legions. The thermae here may not match the emperor's colossal halls in the capital, but they are still monuments of pride. Enter their doors, and you step into a theatre of water and stone. The frigidarium with its cold plunge, the tepidarium with its gentle warmth, and the caldarium where heat blooms so fiercely that even senators sigh like children. For the Romans, bathing is not indulgence, it is identity. Here, deals are struck, gossip is traded, alliance is born. To walk out of the baths perfumed and oiled is to be seen, to belong. But this facade depends on a secret. The Hypocaust system, a marvel of engineering that makes stone breathe like flesh. Beneath the marble floors, a forest of small brick pillars pile lifts the rooms above a hidden chamber. Into this belly, hot air and smoke are driven from the furnace. the walls themselves are lined with hollow tiles tubuli that draw the smoke upward, out through rooftop chimneys, crowned with bronze. The effect is miraculous. Floors that glow with heat, walls that radiate warmth, water steaming in its pools as though touched by divine hand. But miracles require maintenance. Every log burned leaves behind a residue of soot. Every draft stumbles when birds nest in rooftop vents, or mortar shifts in the tubuli. Left unchecked, smoke clogs the channels, heat builds unevenly, and stone groans with pressure it was never meant to bear. Without someone to crawl into the filth and scrape the arteries clean, the hypocaust coughs, and when Rome's baths cough, its pride falters. That is where you come in. You, nameless and bent, belong to the underworld of this machine. Some call you slave, others a hired hand, but to the bath's master, you are simply necessary. Flaccus, the overseer, counts wood like coin, and cuts corners where no one looks. Hanno, the stoker, old and scarred, listens to the fire like it is kin. Between them is you, the one small body who can slide into the crawl spaces no one else dares touch. The risk is constant. Breath too deeply and your lungs blacken. Crawl too slowly and the heat singes your skin. Fail to notice a crack, and a floor may collapse beneath nobles who never knew your name. This is Rome's bargain. Luxury above, sacrifice below. And tonight, that bargain already shows its first fractures. The crawl continues, lamp trembling in your grip. Each elbow drag, stirring a small storm of soot that settles into your hair and lashes. The air shifts strangely, sometimes tugging at the rag over your mouth, sometimes falling slack, as though the furnace had stopped breathing. You pause, testing it with a wetted finger, and feel the draft hesitate, confused. What happens next depends on what you find. Above, a muffled argument rattles through the stone. Flaccus's clipped voice demands more fuel. Hanno's slower rumble answers with caution. The overseer does not care for caution. He cares that the magistrate's daughter is expected soon, that her attendants will sniff the air for comfort, and that his master's purse will open or close, depending on her smile. The words blur, but the tension is clear, and you, pressed between stone ribs, are the one body that will feel their quarrel most. Your scraper catches against something rough. You angle the lamp and see it, a tubulous tile set just a hair off, its lip jutting inward like a stone tooth. Soot has collected around it, a thick clot that chokes the airway. You press with the scraper, flaking away bits of mortar, but each stroke sends more dust raining onto your face. The draft stirs for a moment, tugging at the lamp flame, then falters again. If the flow doesn't stabilize soon, smoke will choose its own path through cracks, seams, or straight back into the bath above. You shift your weight, and the rope at your ankle twitches. One tug, pay out. You freeze. A second tug follows. Hold. Contradiction. The overseer pulling in one direction, the stoker in another. Which order do you obey? What happens next if you choose wrong? The air thickens, growing sweet and metallic on your tongue. A warning. You pull the rag tighter against your mouth and push deeper, feeling ahead with fingertips. They're a tangle of something brittle. Feathers. Bones small as quills. A bird's nest cooked half to charcoal, wedged into the airway. The bronze chimney cap above must have shifted, inviting life where only smoke should pass. Now the dead remnants hold the flue hostage. You drag the debris closer, bundle it into rags, and begin backing out, but your lamp flickers wildly. The draft wants to reverse, to suck flame downward, where it doesn't belong. The pillars beneath you tick like overstrained joints. If the grate below warps, fire could leap free into the crawl space. You know this by the way the floor trembles, not loud, but steady, like a beast pacing behind a thin door. The rope twitches again, 3 tugs. Come back. You hesitate. The blockage isn't fully cleared. The air is still wrong. If you return now, the baths may breathe for an hour, maybe 2, but then? What happens next when the magistrate's daughter is in her steam-filled chamber, and the draft decides to rebel again? Your lamp sputters, nearly dies, then steadies. You press on, deeper into the choke point, knowing the next move may decide whether this furnace exhales or devours. In the half-light, you press deeper into the crawl, the space narrowing until your shoulders scrape both walls. The soot here is older, packed in layers, a history book written in ash. Each stroke of your scraper loosens it in brittle sheets that crumble against your arms. As you work, you remember what daily life in this underworld demands: not the marble and oil above, but the quiet rhythm of men who vanish into smoke and crawl out half-ghost. Every morning begins with ash. You rake out yesterday's remains, piling the white-grey powder into bins for carting away. Your eyes sting even before the new fire is lit. Hanno tends the blaze with a patience that looks like prayer, stacking pine, coaxing it alive, speaking softly to the coals, as if they could answer. His beard is permanently dusted black. His lungs whistle when he sleeps. Yet he knows fire the way, shepherds know hills by sound, by smell, by the subtle tremor of air. You oil your forearms to keep the soot from clinging too hard, and rub vinegar into cloth for your mask. Tools are improvised. Scrapers chipped from broken amphorae, rags from discarded tunics, ropes knotted in the old language of signals. You smear a little talc into your tunic seams to keep sweat from chafing raw, though it never lasts. When you crawl, the world is smell, taste, heat, and grit. And always the whisper in the back of your skull. How much air is left? There are oddities too. Sometimes the walls sing, whistling faintly when the wind shifts across the rooftop vents. Sometimes they hum, as if the building itself approves of the draft. Once a lizard lived weeks inside, darting along bricks with more right to warmth than you. Once you found a child's doll, linen wrapped and browned by heat, fallen through a crack above. You set it by the furnace as a kind of guardian, its stitched eyes watching each crawl. But beneath these odd wonders is a rot of carelessness. The new flue repairs on the women's side were rushed, mortar slapped where it should have been coaxed. You can feel it with your palms. Seams uneven, tile lips proud. Bad work leaves whispers. Already the wall here stutters, as if air itself is uncertain. And then there is Flaccus, shaving wood deliveries thin, pocketing coin while ordering more heat than brick can bear. His greed makes the furnace groan, and when stone protests, it is your body that listens. You pause, lamp steady in the crook of your elbow, and press your ear to the wall. The draft stumbles again, faltering like a drunk. The pile below tick and flex, carrying weight that should never bend. Something is wrong in Rome's hidden lungs. You can feel it with every breath. The wall speaks in a new voice. A sharp, reedy whine threads through the flue, thin at first, then swelling into a strained note that sets your teeth on edge. It is the sound of a draft reversing air that should climb toward the sky, now sinking back toward you. The lamp flame bends unnaturally, its tongue pulled downward, as if the furnace itself were inhaling. You freeze, scraper hovering in your hand. The rag over your mouth sours, vinegar mixing with a sweetness you've come to dread, the metallic taste of smoke turning on its master. Too much fuel must have been thrown into the fire. Flaccus will have ordered it, impatient to impress the magistrate's daughter with a room that steams like Olympus itself. Hanno would have warned him. Warnings mean nothing when coin is at stake. The rope at your ankle jerks once. Hold. Another tug. Pay out. Contradictions again, as if the men outside were speaking different languages through the same cord. The furnace roars with the arrogance of command, drowning out all nuance. Your lamp gutters, coughing smoke into your face. You inch forward, hand searching in the dark, and find it the obstruction you half suspected. A mis-seated tile lip, jammed with the charred remnants of a nest. Your fingers close on brittle twigs, feathers that crumble into powder, the small bones of something cooked alive. You scrape at it desperately, flakes tumbling down your chest, soot stinging your eyes. For a moment, the draft improves, tugging gently at the rag on your face. Then it dies again, swallowed by the furnace's greedy pull. The pile beneath you groan, their voices deep and uneasy. A low pop echoes through the crawl, like a knuckle snapping. The floor above flexes imperceptibly, but enough that dust drifts down into your hair. If the pressure builds much further, the bricks may crack, and then the caldarium heavy with nobles, and attendants will sag into the very fire, meant to warm it. Your pulse thunders. Do you retreat, leaving the blockage half cleared, risking humiliation and punishment if the baths falter during the girl's ceremony? Or do you push deeper, into air already soured, knowing that one wrong motion might collapse stone, or steal your last breath? Another tug at the rope 3 times now. Come back. Come back. The order screams through the cord, but you know the overseer's mind. He sees minutes ticking toward disaster, not the cracks widening in the walls. The lamp flickers, then steadies, as if daring you to choose. And from the furnace comes a new sound. Not a roar this time, but a low, gathering rumble, as though the building itself were preparing to speak in flame. The rumble becomes a growl, and then the growl becomes a shout. Heat slams through the crawl, pressing against your chest, forcing sweat to burst from every pore. The lamp flame stretches tall, then collapses into a quivering bead of light. You clamp the rag tighter against your face, lungs aching for cleaner air that will not come. Somewhere behind you, wood has been heaped recklessly onto the fire. Flaccus's command has been obeyed, and the furnace swells with too much hunger. The walls begin to tick, faint but insistent stone expanding faster than it should, like bone under fever. You press your palm to the tubulous lip you've been shaving, and feel it searing hot, trembling under strain. The obstruction remains stubborn. You work at it with the scraper, shaving mortar flakes into your own hair. Each stroke rings sharp in your ears, a counterbeat to the furnace roar. The rope at your ankle jerks again, frantic this time. 1 tug, 2, 4, mixed signals collapsing into panic. Outside, Hanno must be fighting the blaze, raking at the logs to slow the burn, while Flaccus demands more heat with every passing breath. The rope becomes a battlefield of orders, and you, trapped in the middle, are their unwilling soldier. The air thickens further, each breath a theft. Your eyes stream, salt mixing with soot until vision blurs. You force yourself to focus on the stone scraping, gouging, prying. At last, the lip begins to give, cracking under your persistence. A sharp flake snaps free, and suddenly the draft catches, pulling smoke upward. For the span of 3 breaths, you almost weep with relief. Then, as quickly, it falters again, choked by the fallen nest wedged deeper within. The pile beneath you shudder. You feel it through your ribs, the trembling of bricks bearing weight they were never meant to. One pillar gives a subtle cough, the sound of clay bowing toward fracture. The floor above quivers. Do the bathers feel it? Or do they only see the pleasing veil of steam, ignorant of the beast thrashing beneath them? You jam your shoulder against the wall, digging your scraper deeper, teeth clenched. The lamp's flame sputters dangerously low. In the distance, voices blur through the walls. Orders, arguments, perhaps even laughter. Up there, the magistrate's daughter may already be approaching the chamber, her attendants fanning perfumed air, her father's pride hanging on the warmth of stone. And here, beneath her feet, heat surges like a living tide. The furnace no longer roars its screams, demanding release. The draft must open fully, or the hypocaust will take what it wants, and you are the only thing between its hunger and the ruin above. The scream of the furnace does not fade. It builds. The crawl is no longer just hot. It is alive, pressing against your ribs, rattling your teeth. The lamp burns crooked, its flame dragged sideways by confused currents. Every breath feels stolen from another man's lungs. The rope at your ankle thrashes with fresh urgency. 3 tugs. 4. Then slack. Panic has reached the surface. You imagine Hanno raking desperately at the fire, his old arms trembling as he tries to quiet it, while Flaccus shouts over him, demanding more. Each command up there becomes agony down here. You press your ear to the wall. The sound is worse than before. The pilae no longer tick. They groan. Long, low notes that vibrate against your jaw. A choir of clay under strain. One pillar coughs audibly, spitting a shard of mortar onto your cheek. The floor above flexes with their struggle. Unseen feet pressing on stone that has begun to sag. Nobles shift in their sandals. Attendants fan perfumes. Unaware they stand on the back of a creature that might collapse. You scrape harder, attacking the blockage with wild strokes. The nest gives way in clumps, feathers disintegrating, charred bones snapping under the pressure. For a heartbeat, the air flows freer, rushing past your ears, tugging smoke upward. The lamp swells with new life. Hope flickers. Then the draft stumbles again. Heat surges back down, clawing at your chest, wrapping around your limbs. The rag is soaked through, vinegar mixing with sweat until it smells sourer than death. You cough, choking, the sound loud in your own skull but muffled against the roar outside. And then the pop. A single, decisive crack beneath you. A pillar has surrendered. Dust erupts into your face. Your elbows sink slightly lower into the crawlspace floor. The marble above has not broken yet, but it trembles. If another pillar fails, if the weight shifts 1 more inch, the caldarium will collapse, spilling bathers into the furnace that waits hungrily below. Your heart hammers so hard you feel it in your teeth. The rope jerks again 4 times this time. The desperate code for help me. Help us. But what help can you give? Except to keep scraping. To keep the airway open before the building makes its choice. You wedge the scraper deeper into the tile seam, jamming with every ounce of strength left in your body. The lip cracks further, flaking apart, smoke tearing past you in furious gusts. The lamp flickers wildly, shadows leaping like ghosts across the walls. Above, a ripple of laughter breaks through. Someone has just poured water on the hot stones. The hiss echoes like mockery. They cheer the steam, never knowing that their joy rides on a single body crawling through smoke. Your hands shake, knuckles split, blood mixing with soot until your skin is painted black. The furnace growls once more, then bellows like a beast, straining against its cage. And you know the cage is failing. The world erupts. The furnace exhales with violence. A blast of heat so fierce, it feels like the crawl has become a forge. Your lamp flares white, its flame stretched thin and wild, then shrinks to a trembling bead. The air is ripped from your chest, pulled by the sudden rush of draft, then slammed back in as the current reverses again. Smoke fills the space, black and greasy, a tide that crawls into your nostrils, your mouth, your eyes. The rope at your ankle jerks madly tug after tug, panic without language. You barely feel it anymore. The world has narrowed to your own heartbeat, pounding against stone, and the roar of the furnace that now sounds like thunder trapped underground. Your hand gropes forward, closing around the blockage at last. The fallen bronze chimney cap, jammed into the tubulous throat. It sears your palm, the heat so sharp it feels alive, a living predator thrashing against your grip. You clench harder, teeth bared, and twist. The cap refuses, edges biting crescents into your skin. You twist again, shoulder braced, lungs screaming for air. The draft howls louder, smoke surging around you like a river trying to pull you under. For a moment the stone beneath you shudders, and you feel the pillar flex again. The floor above gives a subtle bow, an ominous creak, like a ship's hull straining at sea. Somewhere beyond the wall, voices fall silent, then cheer again, steam flooding the caldarium as attendants praise the miracle. They do not hear the cough beneath their feet. You twist one last time, muscles burning, and the cap wrenches free. The draft seizes it instantly, trying to suck it deeper into the flue. You hold on with everything left in you, tendons straining, skin blistering. The bronze sings against your knuckles, a high ringing note swallowed quickly by the furnace's roar, and then release. Air rushes past you in a torrent, smoke whipped upward through the tubuli, like a river freed from a dam. The lamp steadies, flame climbing tall and straight for the first time. The pile sigh, their groans softening into a steadier hum. The floor above stiffens back into silence, the sagging checked for now. You shove the cap sideways into a pocket of brick, wedging it with broken shards, so it cannot fall again. The metal steams against the stone, angry, but contained. Your hands shake violently, fingers blackened with soot and blood. Knuckles roar from the fight. For the first time in what feels like hours, you inhale not clean air, but air that obeys. It tastes of ash, and sweat, and bitter triumph. And in that breath you realize you've forced the beast to exhale. The crawl no longer shakes. The air flows steady, obedient at last, and the furnace settles into a deep, measured roar. It sounds almost satisfied, as if the dragon has been fed and lulled back to slumber. You drag yourself backward, elbows aching, soot plastered to every inch of skin. The lamp steadies beside you, its flame now upright and calm, but your own chest still heaves in ragged bursts. You reach the furnace mouth, blinking against daylight, bleeding in from the corridor. Hanno's face hovers there, lined with exhaustion, his beard thick with soot. His eyes search yours, reading the story your silence carries. He nods once, slow and solemn, and without a word rakes the fire into a gentler rhythm. He knows what nearly happened. Behind him, Flaccus appears. Robes too clean, scrolls too neat. He squints at you, not with concern, but calculation. "It holds?" he asks, as if the question itself were evidence of his management. Hanno answers for you, voice low. "It breathes. That is all." Flaccus grunts, already turning toward the sound of footsteps approaching from the upper chambers. His mind is on the magistrate's daughter, not the soot in your lungs, and above celebration. Servants clap as the caldarium fills with steam. The magistrate's daughter sighs in delight, attendants praising the heat, the luxury, the miracle of Rome's engineering. Perfumed oils are unstoppered, poured into water that steams with pride. They will speak of this day for her marriage feast, how the baths were perfect, how Rome's brilliance outshone all else. None will mention the cruel, or the man who fought stone and smoke for their comfort. A boy brings you water in a clay cup. He does not meet your eyes, only holds it out with both hands. The drink tastes of dust and roof tiles, but it is wet, and it steadies you. You press the cup back into his hands, and, on impulse, pass him the bronze cap you tore free. "Tell the balneator," you murmur, voice rasped raw. "Show him this." The boy nods quickly, clutching it like treasure, and scurries off. But you know what will happen. Flaccus will twist the tale, praising efficiency, perhaps scolding Hanno for overcaution, never admitting that greed nearly cracked the floor. The cap may vanish into his ledger as replacement, coin sliding into his sleeve. The magistrate will smile, the daughter will glow, and Rome will continue its long masquerade. You sit with your back against the furnace wall, soot thick on your arms, fingers trembling as though the fight still clings to them. The hypocaust hums smoothly, almost tender now, as if mocking you with the calm it could not keep on its own. And you understand. Your battle has ended, but the war with fire will never stop. The furnace hums again, but now you know its voice. When you first entered the crawl, it growled like a beast, warning you that it was not finished. Now its tone is different. Lower, steadier, almost smug. Not a threat, but a reminder. I am never done with you. You wash yourself in the corner allowed for workers. Vinegar and water cutting through soot in streaks. The skin beneath surprises you red, raw, but still yours. Hanno sits nearby on an overturned amphora, watching the furnace as though it were an unruly son. He mutters that the fire is calmer now, and perhaps it is, yet you both know it waits for the next command, the next overfed blaze, the next careless mortar seam. Above, laughter echoes down the stone. The magistrate's daughter has taken her bath, her attendants praising the heat as perfect, the steam as divine. For them, today will be remembered as a triumph of Rome's ingenuity. For you, it will be remembered as the day the floor nearly collapsed and fire almost claimed its own. Two versions of history, one gilded, the other hidden in ash. You take a shard of tile from the pile of debris and, while no one watches, scratch a small mark inside the crawl near the place you left your lamp's notch. Not words Flackers could twist those, but a sign, simple and sharp. Proof that someone was here. Someone fought to keep the stone breathing. You press harder, carving a second smaller mark for the boy who carried the cap away. Let him remember too. Your knuckles ache, blistered skin split. But you welcome the sting. Pain is honest. You stand, spine crackling like dry wood, and stretch until your shoulders protest. The furnace purrs on. The great liar, pretending docility. You know better. At the doorway, the balneator appears, robes damp from the steam above. His eyes catch yours. It holds? He asks. Hanno answers again. It breathes. That is enough for him. He nods, then vanishes back into his orchestration of perfumes and attendants. The show continues, the audience never glimpsing the backstage. Before you leave, you pause and listen. The walls no longer whine, the pile no longer groan. The air moves upward with grace, as it was meant to. For now, Rome's hidden lungs exhale, and you, covered in soot and scars, exhale too. The breath feels heavy, but it is yours. The furnace's murmur follows you out steady, insistent, eternal, a whisper that says, if you listen to me, I will remember to exhale. Step back now from the crawl, out of the furnace's glow, out from beneath the marble where Rome hides its veins. From the streets above, the baths look like triumph itself. Arched vaults echoing with voices, mosaics glittering in torchlight, perfumed steam rising like incense to the gods. But every drop of comfort came at a cost paid in darkness. Beneath the laughter of nobles and the politics of senators, men crawled on their bellies, scraping soot, breathing poison, their bodies bent to keep the illusion alive. The Hypocaust was Rome's genius, a marvel of stone and air, but genius without caretakers is just ruin, waiting for its hour. For every floor that glowed with warmth, there were lungs blackened below. For every noble sighing in steam, there was a labourer gagging on smoke. It is a rhythm as old as civilization. The higher the comfort, the deeper the unseen toil that sustains it. 2,000 years later, the pattern hasn't changed. Look to the boiler rooms of modern cities, where engineers coax heat through pipes in winter's dark. Look to the HVAC workers crawling through ducts, the miners who fed coal to turbines, the crews who listened to the hum of machinery so that someone else can live in ease. Every time you step into a room that feels exactly right, someone, somewhere, fought to keep it that way. The work remains invisible by design, but it is no less vital. So remember the flue cleaner, whose name Rome forgot, but whose scars built its pride. His labour was not carved into marble or sung in amphitheatres, but every heated bath was his testimony. Greatness was never the mosaic, never the marble. Greatness was the breath beneath it. And if this story has given you even a glimpse of that hidden truth, carry it with you. Share it, so these voices of ash and fire can rise again. Leave a comment, tell me what surprised you most about this hidden labour, or where you're listening from. Across centuries, across silences, it reminds us that comfort was never free, and history always had a cost. If you'd like to keep exploring more of these forgotten labours together, a quick like or subscribe helps these voices echo further than one storyteller alone ever could. For now, the furnace breathes steady, and Rome, like every city, since rests on the backs of the unseen.